हेलो गाइस, लोक प्रवासी के और एक वीडियो में आप सभी का स्वागत है। आज मेरे साथ तन्मय है। तन्मय, आप अपने बारे में थोड़ा सा इंट्रोडक्शन दें।
I'm Tanmay Mahendale. I'm staying in Frankfurt from last 5 years, working in IT, and I've been in Japan for 2 years, in Malaysia for some time, and then in Europe now in Germany.
तो तन्मय हमारे साथ शेयर करेंगे जर्मनी में ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस बनाने का उनका एक्सपीरियंस। तो मैं उनसे कुछ सवाल पूछूंगा, उनके आंसर से हम जान लेंगे कि यहाँ पे एक्चुअल में कितना टफ है, कितना आसान है, और अगर से आप इंडिया से आ रहे हो तो कितना डिफरेंस हो सकता है। तन्मय, कैन यू शेयर योर एक्सपीरियंस अबाउट ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस?
I would say it was a mixed feeling. Initially, I would say for almost a year and a half, I found it very difficult and tough,
Okay.
but then eventually it was quite easier.
So how did you start? So you went to Auslander Behold, or can you just briefly tell the steps that you taken?
In Germany, basically, आप लोगों को you have to register with some driving school first. Once you register with a driving school, then they give you a form. Then you have to complete a whole day's lecture. ये पूरा दिन होता है 8-9 घंटे का. Once you attend it, you get a certificate. Along with that, you need to have your eye certificate. So जो हमारी आंखें होती है उनका टेस्टिंग करके they give you a certificate basically. And with those two documents and your registration, then you go to Ausländer Behörde and you file your forms, everything. And then you are eligible in two ways. You are eligible to either attend the theory classes here in Schule. Otherwise, if you have an Indian license, valid Indian license, then Ausländer Behörde में आप जब जाते हो तो you can submit your Indian license. Post that you only have to give a theory class exam and you don't have to attend the class. That's the first step.
So if I understood you correctly, आपको पहले ड्राइविंग स्कूल में रजिस्ट्रेशन करवाना होता है, उसके बाद में ही आपको एक्सेस मिलता है थेरी और प्रैक्टिकल क्लासेस करने के लिए, अगर से कोई शुरू से कर रहा है तो। यदि आप इंडियन ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस एक्सचेंज कर रहे हो या फिर इंडियन ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस गिव अप करके आप जर्मन ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस ले रहे हो, तो वो केस में आपको थेरी क्लासेस कंपलसरी नहीं है, प्रैक्टिकल क्लासेस
Directly theory exam देके once you pass, you go to practical.
बट आपको थ्योरी एग्जाम देनी पड़ती है, उससे कुछ एस्केप नहीं है। इज इट ऑल्सो अवेलेबल इन इंग्लिश?
It is available in English and German. In fact, it is available in 20 languages. So not only Indians, any outsiders who coming to Germany most probably can give this exam in their own language. इसका एक app भी होता है. So you basically get some 3,000 questions in that app. You can practice it. And once you practice that, you can book an theory exam through your driving school. And once you book that, then you have to go and give that exam. It's 1 घंटे का exam होता है. And you need to give 30 questions. So total 30 questions में से you can only give 3 points wrong. 27%, 27 marks is the compulsory for passing this exam. But it's quite difficult.
Okay. So there is also a negative marking?
No, there is no negative marking for it.
तो ये काफ़ी अच्छी बात है। जब आप जर्मनी में नए होते हो तो आपको जर्मन लैंग्वेज सीखने में थोड़ा सा टाइम लगता है, मुझे भी लगा था, इन्हें भी लगा था। तो वो केस में यदि आपको ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस लैंग्वेज की वजह से लेट हो गया, वो पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है, यू कैन गिव द थ्योरी एग्जाम्स। तन्मय, ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस बनाने के प्रोसेस में सबसे बड़ा हर्डल आपने क्या फेस किया?
And that's where I said initially that it was the tough thing. We feel that we know all the rules, but there are almost 3,000 questions. Look into those questions and a lot of rules. People have this myth. यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा अलग-अलग टाइप के rules हैं, which are not there in India. It's not the case. This is universal. What rules you follow, what rules you study here and give an exam is universal. So theory मेरे लिए, this is my personal experience. Giving a theory exam itself took a year and a little bit more time for me. There was a time where I thought that, okay, let me not have my driving license here because it's quite difficult.
Compared to India, the driving license process here is very complicated or simple?
The process is simple. Actually, it becomes tough for us. Getting a driving license in India, it's a no-brainer there. We all know how you get a driving license in India. It's like a privilege that you have to earn here in Germany. So knowing all the rules, giving the exam and getting the right marks, almost 90%, is the key essential. And even after that, when you attend the practical classes, because there are a lot of different scenarios that occur here in Europe. Like you have a snow, you have an icy conditions, you have a summer, you have a lot of windy conditions, unlike India. So a lot of rules that you have to follow and you should know. So once you know things, actually things are very easier. Now I have a license for more than 2 years now, and I enjoy driving here.
Often I heard that there is a kind of probation and so on. Uh, did you also had probation?
Yeah, everyone who gets a license here, driving license here, goes through the probation of minimum 2 years period. This is compulsory for everyone. So probation means that you should not drink alcohol when you drive. After probation, which is after 2 years, you can drink maximum 2 beers. But beyond that, I'll tell the personal experiences. Eventually, when I failed 4 times, I thought it's a very difficult rules out here, and therefore I'm not able to pass. And while I was having a 20 years of experience driving in India, across India, and some of the other parts of the globe, and why I'm not able to pass it here. And then when I passed on the exam, I actually and studied it more like an engineering exam for almost a month, and then I passed. But when I passed and I went back to India, I saw that all these rules, whatever you think it's new here and you might not have noticed in India, I have after that I have seen that those rules are there. Every signboard, even the smallest thing, I'll tell you, there is a dotted line on the roads that you see in India. There's a meaning of dotted lines versus a solid line. There are three different types of dotted lines. Now we don't know in India. When I started observing this, because it was a rule here and I have to pass it, when I went back to India, I observed that even in India, you have all these rules, you have those three different types of dotted lines, you have the speed limits, you know which part of the city or village will have what speed limit. It is all as per the process and the rules.
So did your way of driving changed after having driving license in Germany and you went back to India besides the side of the road?
No, actually, it's an interesting question because in India, I was the bad driver because I always used to follow the rules. After I passed my theory exam, it became very easy for me. I just got my practical exam. I gave it in 3 weeks, and then I even first attempt I got passed. My first practical class sat beside the lecturer, the trainer. He asked me to drive for 55 minutes. He was watching what I'm doing. He didn't told anything. He said that because I believe you know how to drive. There are only 7 things that I want you to unlearn because of our habit in India, the way we drive in India. It's just the 7 things that he wrote, and he told me that next 2-3 weeks we'll just focus on you unlearning these 7 things, and once you know the right way of doing it, then you will be through, and you know what is the right way. You also know what is the wrong way. It's just that it has become your muscle memory, so we have to make that unlearn. And within 3 weeks, I've driven through snowy conditions, icy conditions, windy conditions. He told me how I have to do it, and I have my license.
So in general, Indians are not that much familiar when they come newly to Germany of the high speeds. So myself, I was quite afraid while entering the autobahn for the first because your trainer also gives you some pressure. Put the gas, and was in your case also the same?
Yeah. My first experience when I went on autobahn when I was driving was different. For me, even back in India, even today when I go, even the speed of 80 and 100 feels it's too much. So when I went inside the autobahn, I was at 80 and he was telling me, feel the gas, you are blocking everyone's route. And I was like, no, I can't drive faster than this. What if someone will come from here? But people follow rules like anything here in Europe, in Germany particularly. And autobahns are meant for driving. So that was the first experience where I drew at around 180, 190. But then I felt good, and he told me even at that speed, what things you have to take care of. Um, as I mentioned, there are 7 things that he asked me to do and unlearn. Only those things, in my case, I took care of, and then I started driving. Now, if I go to autobahn, I drive at 200, 210. Normally, with the safe, following the safe procedures and everything, which doesn't harm anyone else, but also gives me a pleasure.
What was the fastest you have driven?
So the fastest I've touched it was 225, and it was fun. But it was just once or twice that I have driven that fast, knowing the road was straight, knowing that there was less traffic that day. and so I just wanted to try myself and my engine.
So that's the beauty of German autobahns. There are no speed limits. So if you are enough mature, you are able to test the your capability and also what your machine can do. It is, we are not promoting high speed driving. It is just an experience we want to share what we have experienced, that no speed limit, how does it feel. सो तन्मय, व्हाट अबाउट कॉस्ट? ऐसा सुना है कि जर्मनी का ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस जो है वो दुनिया में सबसे महंगा है, क्या ये सच है?
Yes, actually, if you compare definitely with INR, then yes, it is obviously the costliest. But in generally, अगर आप यहाँ पे भी कमा रहे हो, यूरोज में कमा रहे हो, and even then you are spending, then it's quite expensive because if you have to go for an theory classes, if you are not surrendering your Indian license, तो आपको मिनिमम 14 क्लासेस लेने पड़ते हैं और एक क्लास का फीस on an average is between 55 to 60 euro per hour theory classes. And even the practical classes, there are driving schools here who says that minimum 14 you have to take, and वो हर एक क्लास आपको 55-60 euros ज़्यादा है, depends where you are. कुछ गांव रहते हैं वहाँ पे थोड़ा कम होता है, सिटीज में थोड़ा ज़्यादा होता है. ऑन एन एवरेज कंसिडरिंग ऑल द एग्जाम्स, योर थ्योरी एग्जाम, योर प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम, इवन व्हेन यू अपीयर फॉर एन प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम, और जब वो आरटी वाला बंदा आपके पीछे बैठा रहता है, you have to pay 150 euro for that. That's the exam fees. So considering everything, getting a driving license costs you somewhere between 1000 to 2500. In my case, when you're surrendering Indian license, so you don't have to go through the theory classes, then you end up paying less. There is an app that I mentioned before. Depends. There are some apps which is available at 10 euro, 15 euro. Information is same. There are some recognized app which generally ड्राइविंग स्कूल बोलते हैं कि इसी ऐप से कर लेना, विच आर अराउंड 80-90 euro.
आप क्या टिप्स देना चाहोगे जिसकी वजह से, कहाँ पे सर्च करें, क्या करना चाहिए जिसकी वजह से जस्ट कोई आया है तो उसे आसान हो जाए ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस का?
Yes, that's a nice question. Actually, you are allowed to drive any vehicle here for 6 months. तो अगर पहले 6 महीने में आते ही, अगर पहले महीने में यू अप्लाई, डू दैट रेड क्रॉस का फर्स्ट एड सर्टिफिकेट, फर्स्ट एंड आई टेस्ट, ये करके आउटस्टैंडर बिहोल्डर में देते हो, तो यू डोंट हैव टू नेसेसरली सबमिट योर इंडियन लाइसेंस, बिकॉज यू कैन ऑलवेज टेल दैट आई हैव 6 months where I can drive the vehicle. Softer thing, you get your Indian license back. In other case, you have to submit. मेरे केस में इंडियन लाइसेंस मेरे को वापस मिला नहीं है till I get the German licenses. So अगर आप पहले 6 महीने में कर रहे हो तो you have the Indian license back with you. इसका फायदा ये है कि while you're doing theory, आप रेंट पे कार लेके you can drive and take more practical knowledge while you're learning theory. It helps because many times I have seen when I was studying theory, I was not having enough opportunity to try my hands. तो वो आप अगर पहले 6 महीने में करते हो तो it becomes very easier thing. And then अगर 6 महीने में लाइसेंस हो जाता है, then obviously you'll have both the licenses.
In your driving school, was the trainer English speaking or was it a German speaking?
Yeah, it's quite hard to get an English speaking trainers here, but there are a lot of Indians also who have their driving school here. Those classes, even you can get trained in Hindi or any other languages, Punjabi. But what is necessary is that you should know the rules. आपका exam 99% आपका जर्मन में होता है. So I will recommend while you are getting trained in English or any other languages, make sure that you know the German words. If आप जर्मन उतना सीखे नहीं हो और सीख रहे हो, तो भी you should know the words, because जो एग्जामिनर आपके पीछे बैठने वाला है, he is gonna instruct you in German. So you should basically know some basic words of German while driving. मेरा सजेशन है, don't go for an auto car for the licenses. The best way is to go for the manual, because आप manual का license लेने के बाद auto manual कोई भी कार चला सकते हो. In my case, I had an opportunity that I had a wonderful uh, driving instructor trainer. His name is David, and he taught me in English. But at the same time, I forced him to tell me a lot of German words as well, which is what I mentioned. That is important because the exam happens in German.
So as Tanmay is based in Frankfurt, Frankfurt is a big city. So usually it is quite easy to find an English speaking trainer. But if you go in the tier 2 or tier 3 cities, it's impossible to get an English trainer. So at there you will have so many problems with that. You don't know German, but you want to do license. You feel restricted or maybe handicapped. But The schools, they provide you a paper with the German words and the English meaning of it. So you have to practice on your own until you get so much familiarized with the German words. Then it is easy to do in tier 2 also. So Tanmay, have you found any resources or community that help you guiding regarding the driving license?
मुझे कोई ऐसे कम्युनिटी नहीं मिली है, बट आई एम नॉट सेइंग देयर इज नो सच कम्युनिटी, देयर वुड बी इन सम ऑफ द सिटीज. मुझे हेल्प ये हुआ कि फ्यू ऑफ माय फ्रेंड्स हु हैड एन लाइसेंस जर्मनी में, यहाँ पे पार्क्स होते हैं जहाँ पे जितने भी रूल्स है बेसिकली वो सारे रूल्स का एक पार्क होता है एंड यू कैन ड्राइव व्हीकल इन इट. तो आप अगर जिस किसी भी फ्रेंड के पास लाइसेंस है उसको बाजू में बिठा के कार रेंट पे लेके वहाँ पे 1-2 घंटा ड्राइव करके चला सकते हैं एंड देन यू इन अ शॉर्टर span of area you can actually try and test all the rules that you have learned in theory. जिससे बहुत फायदा होता है. You have a jungle and everything inside those parks. So मेरा session ये रहेगा, if you have some friend who has a license, take that guy, take a car on rent and then go there and drive. You can drive only inside those parks and not outside because you haven't got the license yet. Follow all the rules and practice it there.
With that tip, you guys can reduce the number of practical classes. यहाँ पे नंबर ऑफ क्लासेस बढ़ गए तो इट्स लाइक ऑलमोस्ट 300 यूरोस तक का एडिशनल एक्सपेंस होता है. तो ये जो प्रैक्टिकल वाला जो तन्मय ने बताया वो अगर से आप करोगे तो आप ज़्यादा कॉन्फिडेंट फील करोगे और जो 45 मिनट्स का जो आपका एग्ज़ाम होता है ड्राइविंग का उसमें आप इजीली पास हो सकते हो.
How they taste you, and I'm not saying कि हर टाइम हर बंदे को ऐसे ही करते हैं, but I've seen it this way happening कि sometimes ना they don't instruct you whether you have to go right, left, straight or anywhere else, and they just see what you follow. So if you reach to, let's say if there is a road junction where the road goes on left and right, and then he hasn't informed. So the basic rule is if he hasn't informed you something, you have to go straight. But if there is a no entry, then are you asking him a question saying that there's a no entry ahead? And so tell me please whether we have to go left and right. They observe you sometimes this. In my case, what happened is we were in junction where he asked me to go on the left. So I stood on the left side on the signal on the left lane. And then after a few minutes, he said, "Oh, I forgot. We have to go on the right because we have to go to Autobahn." And I was like, and there was no other vehicle on that ample, the signal. And he said that, yeah, you can take, as soon as the signal is green, you can go on the right. And he was very genuine and friendly with me, saying that no worries, nothing will happen. And I told him, no, you asked me to go on the left. I'm standing on the left lane. So as soon as it is green, I will take the left lane. And whatever is the next junction where we can take a U-turn, I'll take that and then we go on to the right side. And when I passed the exam, he gave me the certificate. He said that actually you passed it there, because if you would have taken the right, I might have given you low points because I was just trying testing it. And he was very transparent and open that after exam he told me this. But just make sure that you don't take these driving exams very lightly.
Thank you so much, Tanmay, for your time and sharing your driving license experience and also the wonderful tips.
My pleasure.
I hope our viewers have also got so much good information about driving license. What are the challenges you can face? अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो वीडियो को लाइक करना ना भूले और चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूले. You can also follow Globe Pravasi on Instagram. Thank you for watching the video till the end. See you until next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.